Hey y'all, I just got back from a very unprosperous hunting trip. It was beautiful, don't get me wrong, and we had a lot of fun. We saw at least 24 elk. We saw 3 moose. We saw praying mantises. We saw a lot of wildlife, and it was a lot of fun. But my brother and I both had white-tailed deer tags, and we didn't see a single one. So we're going to have to kind of take a look and see if we can figure out what location they are in and more about that. You'll have to check the Papa Ben's vlogs to see more about that. Anyway, today, what you guys came to listen to, oh, my wrist don't quite bend that way, Victor Hugo's Les Mis. And we're on book 1 of Fantine, chapter 3. Good bishop, difficult diocese. The bishop, though he had converted his carriage into alms, still made his regular round of visits. And in the diocese of Denis, this was exhausting. There was little flat terrain, many mountains, and hardly any roads. 32 parishes, 41 curacies, and 285 sub-curacies. To visit all of them took some effort, but the bishop managed. He traveled on foot in his own neighborhood, in a cart when he was on the plains, and in a coquelet, a basket strapped to the back of a mule, in the mountains. The 2 women usually accompanied him, but when the journey was too difficult for them, he went alone. One day, riding on a donkey, he arrived at Senez, formerly the seat of a diocese. His purse being empty at the time, he could not afford any better convenience. The mayor of the city, coming to receive him at the gate of the mount from his donkey, was mortified. Several citizens stood nearby, laughing. "Monsieur Mayor," the bishop said, "and good citizens, I can see why you are shocked. You think it shows pride for a poor priest to use the same convenience used by Jesus Christ? I have done it from necessity, I assure you, and not from vanity." On his visits, he was indulgent and gentle, and he preached less than he talked. He made virtue accessible. He never used far-fetched examples or reasoning. To the inhabitants of one region, he would cite the example of a neighboring region. In the cantons where the needy were treated with severity, he would say, "Look at the people of Barcelona. They have given the poor and widows and orphans the right to mow their meadows 3 days before anyone else. When their houses are in ruins, they rebuild them free of charge. And so it is a countryside blessed by God. For a whole century, they have not had a single murderer. In villages where the people were greedy for profits and rich crops, he would say, look at Embrun. If at harvest time a man's sons are in the army and his daughters are working in the city, and if he is slowed down by illness, the priest mentions him in his sermons, and after Mass on Sunday, the whole population of the village, men, women, and children, go into the poor man's field and harvest his crop, and store the straw and grain in his granary. To families divided by questions of property and inheritance, he would say, look at the mountain people of Dalveny, a country so wild that the nightingale is heard less than once in 50 years. Well, now, when the father dies, the boys go off to seek their fortunes and leave the property to the girls so they can find husbands. In cantons inclined to legal disputes, and where the farmers were ruining themselves over notarized papers, he would say, "Look at those good peasants of the valley of Quares. They are 3,000 souls there. Why, it's like a little republic. You never see a judge or a constable. The mayor does everything. He apportions the duty, taxes each one in good faith, decides their quarrels without charge, disputes their patrimony without fees, renders judgments at no expense. And he is obeyed because he is a just man among simple-hearted men. In villages where he found no schoolmaster, he would again cite the valley of Quares. Do you know what they do? He would ask. Since a little district of 12 or 15 houses cannot always support a teacher, their schoolmasters are paid by the whole valley and go from village to village, spending a week teaching in one place and 10 days in another. These masters appear at the fairs, well, where I've seen them. They are known by the quills they wear in their hatbands. Those who teach only reading have one quill. Those who teach reading and arithmetic have two. And those who teach reading, arithmetic, and Latin have three. They are considered great scholars. By what a shame to be ignorant. Do like the people of Quares. He would talk like that, gravely and paternally, inventing parables when he lacked examples, going straight to the point were a few phrases and a lot of images, with a very eloquence of Christ, convincing and persuasive. Interesting. So he was using people's examples around him of things that he would see and trying to help the people in this huge area grow. That's kind of cool. I know it's kind of going slow, but what's happening is it's leading up to, so you know more about what's going to happen in the village with Fantine. And so if you've ever watched or listened to the story of Les Mis, this is, they don't usually build up this part and they don't usually talk about this priest because this is Fantine's first little incident that she has coming up, and it kind of shows her what's going to happen to her. I don't want to get into too much detail yet. But anyway, guys, stay tuned for chapter 4 of book 1, Fantine, in the Les Mis series, I guess, because there's like 20 books in this little tiny thing. So anyway, stay tuned for that, and you guys have a wonderful and blessed day.